starts now.
ISIS terrorists driven out of their declared capital in Syria. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That declaration comes from a spokesman of the U.S.-backed Kurdish forces there. Fox's Simon Owen monitoring live from London.
Dave, ISIS named Raqqa, Syria as its capital in 2014, but after a 4-month battle, Syrian militias backed by the US say the city has just been retaken through local troops on the ground and the US and its allies bombing from the skies. A Syrian militia commander saying operations have finished, but that the city still needs to be swept for sleeper cells and mines. A monitoring group says more than 3,200 people died in the 4-month effort, more than 1,100 of them civilians. Dave?
Simon, a North Korean ambassador warns that the UN nuclear war could break out at any time, also warning other countries not to join the U.S. in military action or face retaliation. President Trump has drawn the ire of past administrations.
The toughest calls I have to make are the calls where this happens. Soldiers are killed.
Well, then he said many past presidents didn't call the families. An ex-Obama aide calls that a lie, and a former George W. Bush spokesman says that president met or called hundreds, if not thousands, of families. Republican Senator John McCain appeared to take a shot at the Trump administration last night, saying abandoning U.S. global leadership is unpatriotic, warning of
half-baked, spurious nationalism cooked up by people who would rather find scapegoats than solve problems.
McCain said that while accepting the Liberty Award for a lifetime of service from the National Constitution Center. NFL owners and players will meet today amid the national anthem controversy that continued last night.
Titans wide receiver Rashard Matthews making headlines again by refusing to even be on the field during the anthem for the third game this season.
Fox's Marianne Rafferty. The league also dealing with the grievance from the player who started it all. Colin Kaepernick claims there's collusion to keep him out of the NFL. Fox News, fair and balanced.
I'm Jay Farner from Quicken Loans. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.05%. But choosing the right mortgage lender involves so much more than just a rate. Only Quicken Loans has earned 11 J.D. Power Awards. No other lender comes close to that level of client satisfaction. And we invented Rocket Mortgage. It gives our clients a simpler, hassle-free way to get a mortgage completely online in minutes. No one else has anything like it. And our people. Each one of our 17,000-plus team members throughout Detroit, Cleveland, and Phoenix provides absolute client satisfaction each and every day. So why would you go anywhere else to get your mortgage? Go to America's #1 online lender. Call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com for the best mortgage experience on earth. That's 800-QUICKEN.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
The Republican candidate for lieutenant governor says in the first and only debate, his rival's campaign is the most anti-cop he's ever seen. Carlos Rendo came out swinging during Monday's clash at Montclair State. Democratic Assemblywoman Sheila Oliver responded she absolutely is not against law enforcement. Rendo is Republican Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno's pick for running mate. Oliver is Democrat Phil Murphy's selection. A new poll finds Murphy leading Guadagno 47 to 32% and 3 weeks to go before the election.
Guadagno seems paired with Christie in the minds of many voters. By an almost 3-to-1 margin, the wide swath of the electorate who disapprove of Governor Christie find Murphy more palatable than Guadagno.
Krista Jenkins, pollster with FDU Public Mind, says the survey also finds 4 out of 5 voters believe our political system is broken. This is your last day to register to vote, by the way. If you want to cast a ballot in the November election, you can go to your county clerk's office. Many will have extended hours tonight, or mail in your registration, but it has to be postmarked by midnight tonight. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Hi, this is Governor Chris Christie. Our communities throughout New Jersey are experiencing a heroin epidemic fueled by the abuse of opioids, often in the form of prescription painkillers. Help is available and recovery from addiction is possible, but you need to know the signs. Have you witnessed some changes in your behavior or the behavior of those you suspect might be suffering from an opioid addiction? Some common signs are increased irritability, social withdrawal, changes in sleep patterns, doctor shopping, and financial problems. These behaviors can be hard to spot, but multiple signs occurring together or suddenly could be cause for concern. Addiction is a disease, but recovery is within reach. To learn more about the signs of addiction or to get help, call 844-REACH-NJ or visit reachnj.gov. Again, call 844-REACH-NJ or visit reachnj.gov. The signs you spot today could save a loved one tomorrow.
Sunny, dry, and cool for your Tuesday today. High temperatures limited to the upper 50s to around 60. It'll be chilly again tonight, but frost potential is limited. Lows in the lower to mid 40s. Sunny and pleasant tomorrow, upper 60s to around 70 degrees across New Jersey. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
Are you a victim of a crime in New Jersey, or do you know someone who is? Being a victim is difficult enough without having to search for help. The New Jersey Office of the Attorney General has made it easy to get the assistance you need and deserve. Visit njvictims.com to apply.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hey, thank you very much, and welcome back. Chuck Malamut is here. Chuck is our official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. We're in our 26th year together, Chuck being the official advisor, financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program and the Hurley in the Morning charity. Chuck is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. 609-383-2010 is the phone number for all of your financial planning needs. And the following program is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Our weekly champion, Chuck Malamut, is in the studio.
Good morning, Harry. I was sharing with Kirk your football prowess.
Did you do that all last year?
It's kind of, what's really challenging is when you're looking. It's a lot easier when you're looking on your desktop, because you can see everything in one glance. The problem is when you're on the cell phone, and you have to use your thumb and finger to kind of move the screen up, move down, move left, move right. So I was showing Kirk, and Kirk said, "Chuck, how much farther down do you have to go?" But anyway, Harry,
I think is really special is the highlight of this, the ridicule of your little brother. But I don't recall the reverse happening last year when I became the only person in the history of our organization to win both the regular season and the playoff season.
No, Harry, I always look. As you know, I was always brag about you.
Thank you.
Whether sometimes, unfortunately, it's a long. Let's put it this way: this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I am not.
You know me. I'm not a quitter.
And you started out by congratulating me. Thank you very much. I hope your New York Yankees.
See how kind? I didn't realize while I was doing my job that he was ridiculing me behind my back.
No, I don't do it behind your back. I'm right in front of you.
Well, I couldn't hear with my headset on. It was true you're doing it right in front of my face, but I couldn't hear it. Look, it's better. It's better than in the back. But I, being the professional that I am and the loyal brother that I am, I congratulated you.
You did, Harry, and I congratulate you on your New York Yankees. I'm hoping that this will be great if they can win this evening and push this and get this back to Houston.
Well, I have to stand corrected. I thought they changed it, but Kirk Conover was absolutely
to
correct.
2-3-2?
It's 2-3-2.
Okay, great. All right,
so the Yankees have a really good chance if they can hold serve at home. They can go back to Houston and only need to win 1 out of 2. It's not a bad situation.
No, I think it's it's certainly very doable. There's no doubt about that. But
Chuck, Kirk has just left, but Chuck Malamut, the markets are just, I mean, it's like it's insatiable. It's unstoppable. It seems.
Harry,
23,000 is like a stone's throw away at the moment. 22,956.96. I'll round that up to 57. We're at 22,957 on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. An average uptick one day, and the Dow is going to hit 23,000. Chuck, it could be today.
Well, Harry, we never. We kind of go back and forth over this.
You never get charged up over any one thing. But I still think psychologically, this isn't like 20,000, it's 23,000, but I still think it's
no,
exceptional.
I think this is what's interesting is the fact that we have set 66 record closes, 66 days where we've had record closes from the time of the election. Third quarter earnings are now starting to hit. If you take a look at Harriet last week, 5 consecutive weeks, up weeks. S&P index up, 0.2%. Not a big week, but up. Investors are, looking at economic growth. That's something that we'll talk about in a little bit. Corporate earnings that we kind of chatted about, and trying to certainly understand what the central bank's policies are going to be. So, having said that, we are in that equity market friendly environment. Obviously, watching what comes out of Washington, and what do we say? It was years ago. It was like watching them make sausage.
Yes,
and it's
it can be ugly.
And I think we're there right now. So
you'd rather eat the sausage. You don't want to watch it being made.
So that environment continues to obviously be. I guess the best word, uncertain, is probably if you could use one word, it would be that word, uncertain. But now investors are looking past all that confusion and all the potential negatives, and as a result of that, the market continues to move onward and upward.
Chuck, you have on your list, and this brings back such a memory, and I'll explain why. You were my boss at the time. I was in Disney World, so some things never change.
No.
Oh, no, you had left.
So I had left.
You had left. Mm-hmm. That's correct. I take that back. Not long before that, you had been my boss. But anyhow, the date was October 19th, 1987, so just a couple of days from now, forever known as Black Monday. I was in Disney World with Margie, with Kristen, who was only about 4 at the time, and Lauren, who was barely 1 at the time. In fact, not even 1, I don't think. My son, Robert, was not even born yet. He would be born about 2 years later, just under 2 years later. To show you how things have changed. And I was, a junior executive at the time, and I had somewhat significant responsibility, not as much as ultimately I earned, but just to give you an idea how things have changed. I didn't learn about the market free-falling on that day until we got back. That could never happen today.
Certainly technology was a whole lot different. I go back and look at what we did and how we did things. It's just, I
guess what I'm saying is you used to be able to get away. They talk about you got to get away from things.
Yeah, well, you could get away. Well,
you could get away from things. Nobody talked about it in Disney World, and we were there for a week.
So this is Harry, this is the 30th, anniversary of Black Monday, October 19th, 1987.
Remind our listeners what happened that day.
So the Dow Jones dropped 508 points that day, Harry, and the S&P saw a one-day loss of 20.5%.
And the 508, like if the market dropped 508 today out of 23,000, it's one thing, but back then, that was a huge.
So from that point in time, think about, how solid the market has been, from that point in time. We've had 2 major bear markets. And as a and even having said that, we continue to reach highs that you kind of identified. So valuations are slightly elevated right now. Volatility remains somewhat subdued, and what we hear about, Harry, oftentimes, and I'm going to say one call out of 4, one meeting out of 4, one contact out of 4. When is the market going to crash? We're waiting. We're going to wait for a better time, to put the money to work. So,
I think because people see all these goofy commercials and things where people are like scaring the heck out of people, coupled with when you see day after day after day, what you said, 56 record highs. It's basically a new record every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, actually, did you say 50 or 60? It's 66. 66. So,
incredible.
And again, think about the old analogy. We always talk about this, Harry. timing the market versus spending time in the market. So think about this for a second. If you went back and sort of back tested this, if you put your money, you put $100,000 back to work, if you put $100,000 to work the day before the market crashed in 1987 versus putting that same $100,000 to work the day after the market crashed, the annual rate of return differential is 0.8. So in other words, if you put your money to work at the absolute wrong time, you went in that Friday before that awful Monday, you would be up. You'd annualize at 9.7%.
So it's basically not even measurable. It's infinitesimal. But if you bailed at the wrong time, you insured your losses.
If you put your money to work the day after Black Monday, your annual rate of return been 10.5%.
Whoa.
So again, no one single day marks where the market goes. But this, I mean, we talk about this. It seems, Harry, we talk about it way too often. I mean, maybe that's a good thing because hopefully we're communicating that message, to your listeners that it's you never know when is the right time, either to buy or to sell.
Which means that Chuck Malamut, for over 26 years that I know of, and even before that you were in this business, your philosophy of not trying to time the market but spending time in the market is the winning approach.
Yeah, and Harry, look, it's like anything else for your listeners that have retirement plans, 401k plans, 403bs, tax sheltered annuities. Dollar cost average, pretty much, per pay period on the way in. And then on the way out, as you take your drawdowns, if you can do it, you dollar cost average on your way out. Because, if I were to ask you, Harry, can you believe that we've had 66 all-time, highs, closing on the market from the election? If I posed that question to you probably in the middle of October, you would probably say, Chuck, you got to be out of your mind.
Right. I mean, now that we've lived through it, it just became sort of like the new norm, to quote a famous American philosopher. But you wouldn't predict that going in because it's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, Harry, I think that
in our lifetime it's not happened, correct?
It has not. But if you understand, obviously, there's a lot of anxiety. Even in an upward market, clients, prospective clients, colleagues, money managers, hedge funds. I mean, they're all thinking the same thing, and it's just a matter of, okay, at one point in time, what is going to take this market off of the firmer footing that we've seen now for the better part of a year? It's been a long time, Harry, since we've had a major pullback in excess of 5%. So now, as earnings come, and this morning, for instance, and I saw three come across, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Johnson & Johnson, they all beat top line and bottom line, if my recollection is correct. And so now, last week, the big banks, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citi, came and their numbers they beat expectations, but there was some issues with respect to fixed income trading revenue. So they're always looking within the earnings as to what drove the number and to what magnitude. But having said that, by the time we get to the end of this week, 10% of the S&P 500 companies will have reported. So I think we're going to have a real good handle on what Q3 is and what the likelihood of what things that are going to happen in the fourth quarter of this year.
We're going to take our first break, coming right back. Much more with Chuck Malamut. He will cover additional economic data, if the positive trend should continue, recent hurricanes, and economic data. I think that clearly had something to do with employment, but I think it will be a short-term thing. Corporate earnings, Washington and the pro-growth agenda, what risks could derail our current bull market. Kirk Conover wrote into the program that on October 19th, 1987, and I should have realized that Chuck was no longer my boss at the Golden Nugget because Chuck had left to go to the financial services industry. Kirk wrote in, I was on the bay that day. He was a clammer, as you know, Chuck. And he came in to his clam dealer who told him about the crash. And he said in 6 months, it'll be like it never happened. That's what the dealer said to Kirk. This portion of our program also brought to us by America's oldest seaside resort, Congress Hall, in 2016, celebrating its bicentennial, marking 200 years as America's first seaside resort located in the very heart of the Victorian Cape May district. It's the perfect place to spend your New Jersey beach vacation, and that's all 4 seasons. Congress Hall was recently voted best hotel in New Jersey by Travel and Leisure and its readers. Always check the website if there are any types of specials that are going on. Sometimes there's a Sea Spa special or an immediate statement credit that would be on your folio, so that anywhere that you would go within the Cape Resort properties, you could go to the Sea Spa, you could go to the Ebbett Room, to the Blue Pig Tavern, over to the Rusty Nail, any of the different properties, and they all have you in the computer. I'll give you an example. We went for the first time ever. My family had been through it. I had never really had the opportunity to enjoy Beach Plum Farm. We had the most amazing farm-to-table lunch and an incredible time touring Beach Plum Farms. I paid with my credit card for lunch for everyone, and then I didn't bother to look at the time, and I didn't worry about a receipt because I know the way that it works at Cape Resort Properties. They know you, their valued clients. My receipt was in my email for the lunch. It's really the technology all throughout. And that Beach Plum Farm, I told some of my colleagues here, you want to take your family there, all ages. It's just a lot of fun. You can feed the chickens. There's just the whole concept of a working farm that literally from farm to table, the things that it's like Disney World, the things that you have in the restaurant at the various properties, whether it's the herbs or the tomatoes or a lot of the different meats and things, it's all farm to table, and it's really, really good, really, really special. They're on the beach, on Beach Avenue at 200 Congress Place. Tell them I sent you. Early in the morning, you can reserve. You can reach a reservation agent if you want to speak to a human being at 888-944-1816. But the entire inventory, every room broken down by single rooms, double doubles, kings, queens. If you want to get a little bit of a price break and you take a standard room without a view, it's all right there at congresshall.com, and you can reserve your room right from the website, and you don't need anyone's assistance, and you can see the different price points right on the website, congresshall.com. Tell them I sent you. Early in the morning, back with Chuck in just a few minutes. Also, Janet Yellen has an interview with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and I think it's come down to 2 people. I think it's Gary Cohen or Janet Yellen as the next Fed chair, and I think Janet Yellen has a legitimate shot to continue.
Hi, this is Gabe Stana for Bacharach Institute. Recently, we've all focused on 2 natural disasters that brought so much misery to both Texas and Florida. It should be natural to focus on disasters that bring so much misery to our bodies, our lives, and to the lives of the ones we love. And one of them is multiple sclerosis. MS is a devastating disease that affects the brain and spinal cord. It causes weakness, muscle stiffness, and a host of problems that make mobility difficult. Bacharach Institute specializes in physical medicine, improving the lives of those facing the physical challenges related to MS. You could help us in our effort to battle MS by joining our partner, the Right Notes, in its fight against MS. The best news is you can do it while enjoying an evening of wine tasting featuring 100 top-scoring wines, spirits, and craft beers, and artisanal food from Stephen Cookie's, Doc's Oyster House, the Knife and Fork in Great Bay. Thursday, October 19th from 7 to 10 at Great Bay Country Club in Summers Point. It's an opportunity to donate and have a great evening at the same time. For information, visit the rightnotes2017.eventbrite.com.
Effective, independent, with the courage to buck the bosses and stand up to the special interests. That's the Van Drew team. Bob Anderzak lost his leg fighting to protect his platoon in Iraq. Bruce Land was twice decorated for saving lives under fire in Vietnam. And these 2 homegrown heroes are still on the front lines, making sure veterans and their families are not left behind. Working to create employment opportunities, provide better job training, and expand college scholarships for returning vets. But that's not all. Jeff Van Drew, Bob Anderzak, and Bruce Land are fighting to reduce our tax burden by freezing property taxes for seniors and providing a $1,000 tax cut for middle-class families by eliminating special tax breaks for millionaires. Van Drew, Anderzak, and Land. Courage we can count on.
Paid for by Van Drew, Zach Land for the 1st District. P.O. Box 941, Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey, 08210.
This is Michael Medved. I'm here with Mike Stahl from Health Markets, helping folks find the right Medicare coverage. The news reports say that the rates might be going down.
The government projects the cost of Medicare plans will decrease this year. So you have to ask yourself, are you getting the best rate? Health Markets offers a free service with access to thousands of Medicare plans nationwide to help folks maximize their benefits and save money.
What is it people need to keep in mind?
Enrollment in the right plan is not automatic. With so many Medicare options, it can be confusing. My advice, don't go it alone. Get unbiased help to find a plan that may cost less and cover more with lower co-payments, more choices like dental and vision, and the freedom to choose your doctors. With the enrollment deadline only weeks away, it's important to act now. Our Health Markets Medicare assistance is free.
Thanks, Mike. This is Michael Medved for Health Markets.
For your free Medicare assistance, call 800-598-8804. That's 800-598-8804. 800-598-8804.
Hi, remember this is Tony Landa with Hurley in the morning. Keep listening.
We'll tie a yellow ribbon around the oak tree.
Hurley in the morning.
Hey, thanks very much. We're back 26 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here. Reminder, for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the Malamut Group, Chuck Malamut's team, at their Morgan Stanley Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. Let me just do this real quick. It's off your
Let me defend for a minute. Your twin brother Don.
Oh,
on the break, Don, I was sticking up for you. Okay, brother Harry.
This is terrible.
Brother Harry.
Chuck is like talking out of school.
No, I
can't say anything.
No.
Here's what I said. I said Don is having a particularly bad year so far because he's never been like that. He's near the bottom. Very unusual for Don. So we were teasing. Chuck and I both came up with a solution. You don't change a thing. You keep doing what you're doing, and then flip it completely. After you're done, just flip the pick opposite, and Dom would be in the lead or in the top 3 or 4. All right, before we get into some of the economic data, the recent hurricanes and impact that it's had, corporate earnings, Washington pro-growth agenda, what risks are potentially in front of us, let me mention Janet Yellen, who at one point, Chuck, I was really not a fan of at all. But I'm starting to believe the least disruptive thing that President Trump could do in such a great bull market is to do no harm.
Harry, I agree with you. Not that
I never thought I'd say
we're not going to
Chuck.
go. We're not going to go political with this, certainly.
But the appointment of the Fed chair is the president's prerogative. So we'd have to ignore speaking about it if we didn't.
And there's been obviously so much turmoil with all the other changes that have occurred in a relatively short period of time, and I think the markets would be pleased if Yellen remains in that spot.
Oh, and yes, and by the way, since Chuck has been just ripping me since the beginning of the program, I know that my beautiful bride must be listening, and it was, I don't know, about 11 hours from now when Margie and I checked into our regular room, our standard room with no ocean view, just a standard, almost like substandard room at the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino. Courtesy of?
Harry, let's move on.
He can dish it out, but honey, he can't take it. No, we appreciate it, Chuck. It was so meaningful. Only later did I learn when I somehow, some way, because of your great tutelage, that I got to run the whole hotel. Did I even know that there were spectacular rooms that I just never knew about?
So, Harry, let's talk about
he's swift. Go ahead, Chuck.
So, let's talk about some of the data that's coming across with respect to the economy. So if you take a look at the Institute of Supply Management, their September survey came back The index climbed to 60.8. That, Harry, is the strongest reading we have seen since May 2004. Not 2014, May 2004. So think about, 13 years now. So the non-manufacturing index reached a number of 59.8, the highest level since August 2005.
Wow. Also, consumer confidence.
And
is
so,
the highest it's been.
the indices right now are at their highs for the current economic expansion that we're living through at this point in time.
Chuck, let's get our bottom of the hour break in. And if I could, because you zinged me twice, you were the zing bot today. Anybody that's a fan of Big Brother, you know the zing bot comes out.
That gentle caller lady might
Yes.
caller might call.
No. She's a fan of yours now. Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, if I didn't stick up for you,
I know.
she would today. she would be so upset.
I'd be roadkill.
Yes, you would be, but I always defend you. Never fear. Chuck, I just want to throw this out. I've only done this one other time, and I think today on Margie's 36th wedding anniversary is, and the standard room that we enjoyed 36 years ago today at the Golden Nugget, the executive in charge was Chuck Malamut, my boss, and that's what he thought of as standard room, Hurley. When you were courting a beautiful, beautiful future wife, would you testify under oath before thousands that when your little brother was the senior hotel executive, did I put you in a standard room?
Harry, times were different. You did. Times were different.
Oh, no. I said, did I put you in a standard room?
No, you did not. You did not.
Where did I put you, Chuck?
You put me in a very, very nice, you had very, very nice accommodations.
I put you in the finest room suite in the house.
All right, I think we're even now.
Yeah,
yes, good. Let's move on.
Standard
Let's take the
versus
commercial.
Q Suite. Chuck Malamut continues for all of your financial planning needs. Oh, hold on a second. Don't go away. I'll be right with you. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. And we are your station. Chuck's a hockey fan. His son, a very good hockey player. We're your station for Flyers hockey.
You want Flyers hockey in South Jersey?
Wayne Simmons wins it for Philadelphia.
You got it. WPG Talk Radio 104.1 is your home for Flyers hockey all season long.
The Flyers battle the Panthers tonight at 7.
Brought to you by Coors Light. The bigger the mountain, the bigger the reward. Whatever your mountain, climb on. Flyers hockey lives here. WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hi, you lost?
Yes! Medicare is such a maze!
United Healthcare can help.
Is that why you're driving this bulldozer?
Hop in! Choosing a plan doesn't have to be complicated. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
That was easy.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
To help explain how fast it is to make Bob Evans original mashed potatoes, here are a few things to do while they're microwaving. 1. Prune your Facebook friends. Sorry, Aunt Brenda. 2. 6-minute abs. Get ripped. 3. Meditate. Namaste. Because with Bob Evans original mashed potatoes, you take it from the fridge, then microwave it for 6 minutes. For rich, homemade taste that's really fast to make, find Bob Evans in the refrigerated section of your grocery store. It's farm fresh goodness, fast.
Bob Evans down on the farm.
Want to know why?
I am very, very happy to report that we are just taking a little break from the break because this is the only moment that we can do this because this very special guest would not be available even at the end of this break. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You are on the air.
Happy anniversary.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Noah Hurley Baker. Noah, how you doing, my man?
I'm good.
You getting ready for school?
Yeah, we're students.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to see you tonight.
Awesome, and we're going to go to the new house.
That's correct. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to let Grandma know that you called and say hello to my good friend Chuck Malamut. Say hello to Chuck.
Good morning, Noah. How are you today?
I'm good.
All right. Now you work hard, have a great day in school, and take care of your parents and your grandparents, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you for checking in. And tell your dad I said thanks, too. And Grandma is listening. This is fantastic. Oh, this is great. Noah, take care. I'll see you tonight.
I love you. Love you.
Okay, guys. Love you back. Have a wonderful day. I think Margie wants to check in. Hold on a second. Is this Margie? I guess not. I think Margie wants to check in at some point. Let me finish the break, and then if Margie wants to check in, we'll get to that as well, and then we'll get right back to Chuck's program. It's Early in the Morning, presenting Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters, back in just 2 minutes.
Want to know why Atlantic City is in such dire financial straits? Because of guys like Atlantic County Sheriff candidate Eric Scheffler. To the rest of us, that sound means we received a text. To Scheffler, that sound meant during his time with the Atlantic City Police Department. As the ACPD training officer, Scheffler made it mandatory that he receive a text whenever a K-9 unit was deployed while he was off duty. He then charged the city 4 hours of comp time every time he answered a text. Records show that when he answered 2 texts the same day, Scheffler wouldn't be shortchanged by the taxpayers. He charged the city for 8 hours of comp time to respond twice via text. ACPD email records show that Scheffler emailed out proposals and bills related to his own private business from his ACPD email address while on duty. Atlantic County can't afford Eric Scheffler as sheriff.
Paid for by Jack Lasser for Atlantic County Sheriff.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and only barely making minimum payments, know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt, and they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005.
Hi, remember this is Tony Lando with Hurley in the morning. Keep listening.
One tie yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. 37 minutes past the hour. Margie was holding, but I didn't realize it, so she didn't get a chance. So I'm going to say to Chuck, Margie said the same thing that I said to you, only she said it so much more beautifully. She was coming on to thank Chuck for starting the very first day of the rest of our life together.
That was
Wasn't that beautiful?
That was very beautiful. You know, Margie is certainly...
She's the class of the operation. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm going to just say ... I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Okay.
But isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful.
What she
And,
said?
I
See,
think I ribbed you enough today, so I'm not going to move on.
She
I'm gonna move on.
appreciated standard rules.
I know she did.
Yeah, that's all. Back to you.
So, Harry, let's we talked a little bit about some economic data, so let's chat about the hurricanes for a minute. As you know, the September job numbers were pretty depressed as a result of the regional impacts that were, obviously, what happened by not 2 but 3 events, and putting, thousands of people out of work. Now, we think that number is certainly temporary. And, if you look at what we just chatted about, the increase in the ISM readings, I think a lot of that, Harry, was due to, think about all the deliveries that were pushed through very, very quickly, before the hurricanes hit. So, I'm just curious to see what that ISM number is as we move forward in, through October. But, having said all that, what we kind of chatted about for a few minutes earlier in our discussion today was a little about corporate earnings.
Yes.
Expectations, have been tampered down somewhat, and I think more of on a comparative basis where we were Q3 2016 versus Q3 2017, and as a result of that, probably what will end up happening is that the numbers will should exceed expectations. for the most part. I mean, you might find a few outliers out there where you always do. But having said all that, I think we're setting ourselves up, for above average earnings as we get through Q3. So, but again, remember, 10% of the S&P will report before the end of this week, and I think that'll really give us a very good indication as to what the results will be for the remaining 90% of the companies that have not reported.
What do you say? I know you didn't gloss over it, but I want to come back to it. What do you say to those who are looking at this and wondering? They say what goes up must come down. What about someone that's wondering, like, how long can this excellent ride continue?
Well, the key is, are we at the, it's kind of like, you and Kirk, chatted a little about baseball last hour. You use the baseball analogy. Are we in the middle of the fourth inning? Are we at the bottom of the seventh? Or is this game going to go into extra innings? Harry, I think we are probably pretty deep into the game, so to speak. But I think there is, a likelihood that potentially, the game could go to extra innings. So, when you think about it, what risks are out there that could, actually derail the bull market that we're in. So, risk assets such as stocks, real estate, have generated some significant returns so far this year. And, one of the things that we looked at, we didn't talk about today, was international. If you look at the MSCI emerging markets, up over 33% year to date. The MSCI EFA up over 22%. So you think about that and compare it to what's happening here domestically. There's been a lot of good things happening, not only in the U.S. but outside the U.S. So global economic growth has improved in most parts of the world. We've always talked about that tug of war. Do we have inflation? Do we have deflation? And one of the concerns, in the beginning of this year, Harry, was, there was some fear about deflation. And, those fears have since receded. Inflation has really not increased materially. I mean, you think about it, the expectations, inflation was going to be, 3.5 plus. That really hasn't happened. Monetary policy, for the most part here, domestically and also also outside the U.S., has been very accommodative. The Fed, U.S. Fed, and other central banks, have sort of turned the corner and are now becoming more hawkish. So the indication is that a 25 basis point increase in December, and then I've heard, Harry, 3 to 4. Not 1 to 3, but 3 to 4 potential rate increases as we get into next year. So remember,
wow.
Just remember, like we're
that would be in a big election year.
Yeah, and remember where you are on the long end of the curve versus the short end of the curve. And one of the fears that we always have is that if the curve sort of inverts, and your short rates are higher than your longer rates, then ultimately, what does that spell? Traditionally, it spells a recession. So. Now we're not making that statement, but it's just it's just sort of a fact of life as to what happens. So
let me raise one other thing that I think you've mentioned in previous programs. Maybe you've even said it today, and I just missed it somehow. But inflation has reared its head because for the first time in a while, Social Security recipients, they're actually going to receive an increase.
They are, and I think it was 2%. 2%, right? Yeah. Okay, so. The other,
by the way, for those wondering, and everybody's a little different depending on how much you paid in and so on and so forth, and for how many years. For the average Social Security recipient, you will be receiving an extra $25 per month.
So at the same time, Harry, we talked, not this show, we've talked about in the past what's happening with the U.S. dollar. And because we've had a decline in the dollar, a fairly substantial one at best, it has boosted global trade. And helped commodity prices, again, putting that risk-on trend, even further, as to what was expected to happen as we got into the beginning of the year. Now, so that's, what's happening, on the good side of the ledger. What has made this market get to the point where it is right now? And obviously, a lot of it is due to fundamentals and a lot of it due to earnings. So, what can change the environment? As we say, okay, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? So what's the favorite thing we always talk about? Geopolitical risk.
Yes.
We have not, there's a lot going on. For the most part, the market, has, pretty much, shrugged their shoulders, so to speak, and said, okay, no big deal. But, if you look at the geopolitical environment, it's always out there, and it's obviously very difficult to forecast. So another factor that could, put the market somewhat at bay here is, if you look at, the U.S. dollar, and I think we talked about it the other a couple weeks ago, I think your comment was, well, the dollar's done very well, and yes, it did, but it did sell off somewhat. So if that does in fact move higher, that could derail the market as well. And if you look at an increase in government bond yields, it could also sort of create some shockwaves into the market. And
Chuck, as a general question, is this the most durable that you've ever seen? We'll say for almost a year now, the most durable that you've ever seen our markets seemingly impervious to geopolitical issues. I know this, Chuck, and I believe that even though I'm just a layperson and you're the financial expert, if we had a nation threatening, global thermonuclear war, I would think our markets would get a little upset with that. Nothing seems to matter anymore.
Harry, that and, obviously, everything that has happened here domestically, internationally with, ISIS, making claims that they created this event and that event, and you would think that every time there's an event, not with a good outcome, that the market would sell off, and it just hasn't happened. But you kind of glossed over a few minutes ago. One of the biggest fears that we have, should be if inflation does rise.
Yeah.
And
is that what the rate hikes are about?
Well,
would they actually sort of stimulate or encourage the
well, they kind of go. They oftentimes go hand in hand. So the Fed wants a little bit of inflation, but they don't. They don't want to get hyperinflation
cool down too much.
So any of the events that we kind of talked about, geopolitical risks, inflation.
Is this in a year like this? Does the Fed almost dislike a year like this, that it is just too much, too good? They don't want it to be this hot. They don't want it to be too cold either.
No, I don't think this is too hot, Harry. I think it's improved and it's moderate. And if we were growing substantially in excess of 3 every quarter, then I think there'd be some cause for concern. But the Fed has a lot to deal with.
Well, our markets are up double digits, correct?
Yeah, the S&P and the Dow Jones year to date up 15% and 17% respectively.
And our most recent GDP is over 3.
The Nasdaq's up over 23. So yeah, there has been an appetite for risk assets. The concern that all of us have is that if can this momentum continue in the markets over the next several months?
What are the averages over? I don't expect you to know every year for all time, but the average bull market is typically how long?
It's 3 years or so, Harry. We've been 5 years plus, since we've had a major event. And you think about it, it's been 9 years, and we've had these mini corrections within that time period. So, if I think you actually said it today again, that if you had sold your securities in the depths of despair in March of 2009, you would have locked in your losses. But again, remembering that, and I can remember it was like yesterday, Harry. You can, I'm sure as well. Half of something is better than nothing.
Right. Seemed to make sense to some people.
And it did.
My theory was, though, you're actually giving up on all of recorded history, though, because if you're happy with half, that means you're pessimistic that we're not going to recover. We always recover. And I just thought that was always the wrong
Well,
move.
look, I mean, we could spend, we're kind of short on time, but you think about, Bear Stearns going out in the spring, Lehman Brothers, the biggest, financial services company, bankruptcy
People
ever.
were scared.
The multiple mergers and acquisitions, and, it just, names changing, like you're playing musical chairs, and, the Fed and the government going and TARP. We talked about TARP a couple of weeks ago. It seems like it's a distant memory, and oftentimes clients say, "Well, can that happen again?" You can never say never, but if you look at the lessons that we learned as a result of the Great Recession, I think it's highly unlikely.
And some people may forget. You sometimes get sort of married to an acronym instead of what it stood for. The actual TARP began with the word Troubled
Asset Relief Program, I believe it was.
Yeah, I thought toxic was in there too, but troubled would be more civilized. Chuck, anything you want to say in closing?
No, so Harry, look, I think that, again, to sort of conclude, like, what could derail the market? And I think the biggest concern is a rise in inflation, could put some pressure on the central banks. And as a result of that, you get that sort of risk asset off, so to speak, versus risk assets on. But, I'm curious, Harry, today's Tuesday. I'll be back again next Tuesday, and we will have more companies reporting in. And we'll see where the market goes.
Look forward to it, Chuck. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, the Hurley in the Morning charity, Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010. And Chuck, keep picking them accurately. You're a legend.
Harry, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I know.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good day. See ya. We'll be right back. Don't go away. It's Early in the Morning. Coming up, a mini open forum segment if you want to jump in, 609-407-1450. We can take one call. Then we have Dr. Newkirk for 30 minutes, and then he's always interesting, and he's never dull. I can promise you that. And he says it as he sees it. Probably the single most ardent Mayor Don Guardian detractor, maybe even more than people running against him. Mark Padula, the immediate past Republican chairman in Atlantic City, will join us right after Dr. Newkirk at 9:40.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
Get your pink on for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. 1 out of 8 women will develop breast cancer, and that's why early detection is so important. Ladies, we're so busy with 100 other things, but getting a mammogram is not just something we do for ourselves. Taking care of our health is something we do for our families, the people who love us, and the people who depend on us. New 3D mammography is now the gold standard, and it makes it easier to detect breast cancer earlier and helps reduce false positives. If you're over 40 and have not had your annual mammogram, now would be a good time to make an appointment. Men, if your lady is always reminding you about taking care of your health, here's your chance to repay the favor. Ask her if she has had a recent mammogram and remind her how important it is. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All Season Solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Go! It's like Shark Tank in the great outdoors. Tonight on an all-new Adventure Capitalist.
Today I'm asking for $1 million.
Thrill-seeking investors. put products to the test.
I think it has a lot of potential.
Go big or go home.
So you're saying it's that much better?
Yes.
It's 10 times better. We'll be the judge of that.
Adventure Capitalists, all new tonight at 10.
Wait, can I just take a second? I beat all of you.
Yeah, you did.
CNBC, get yours.
What if hiring could be easier with more qualified candidates and faster results? What if hiring could be smarter? Thanks to ZipRecruiter, it can be. With one click, post your job to over 100 top job boards. Then, their smart technology notifies the most qualified candidates to apply. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/talk. That's ZipRecruiter.com/talk.
Paul D'Amato. Harry Hurley. Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
True colors. That's what we're learning about Colin Bell and his true nature. At the height of the foreclosure crisis, Colin Bell created a business forcing struggling families to pay Bell or lose their home. Yep, Bell devised a scheme to get rich by taking the homes of working families, kicking them when they're down. It's greedy, it's heartless, and Bell did it. When he thought no one was looking, Bell plotted to take away people's homes for a nice profit. Here's how it works. Bell buys your tax lien. Then if you miss a payment, he gets your home, and he gets it cheap. The real Colin Bell, his true colors, preying on desperate homeowners, trying to cash in by kicking people out. Proof you can't trust Colin Bell. Paid for by South Jersey Families First, P.O. Box 3321, Margate, New Jersey, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
We're back. It's 57 minutes past the hour. Let me go to your phone calls, and I'm going to share with you during the 9 o'clock hour. I did share it in the late 6 o'clock hour, 4 Democrats who have come out for Mayor Don Guardian and formally endorsed his election. Very, very unusual. We'll be talking about that and other things with Mark Padula coming up at 9:40-ish. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. The players, they're here. The players are here. We're going to have to make this fast. We only have about a minute and a half. Well, no, we have 2 minutes. Had the players not sprung up for duty there, it would have been host error, not the Hurley in the Morning players.
Okay.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, the teacher.
If I didn't pay homage to this reason that I'm calling, it's your anniversary. So I wrote a little ditty.
Oh, thank you.
On this very special day, let's raise our glasses and shout, hooray! For the Hurleys, Harry and Margie, came together 36 years ago. And God bless them, they're still going strong, as we all know. Margie Hurley, that beautiful girl, grows better and better in every way. Her days are filled from morning to night, and that never spoils her day. Harry, that handsome lad, expresses his love for Margie, and he knows he did right on that October day. We wish them much happiness and good health to enjoy. May all of their days be filled and shared with those they dearly love, and blessings come from all the others in the heavens above. I thank you.
What a beautiful way to end the hour and to take us to halftime. Thank you very much, the teacher. Thank you so much.
With all my love.
You're the best.
Hurley in the morning.
Halftime break, Dr. Newkirk, when we come back. Oh, yes, when we come back, Dr. Newkirk, and then much more.
104.1 FM and 1450 AM WPGG Atlantic City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
This day's so great, I thought it was halftime. It's the 3-quarter mark.
Democrats said it was like putting the wolf in charge of the hen house. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And now the man who was nominated to be the next drug czar is backing out. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
President Trump tweeting in the last half hour, Representative Tom Marino has informed me that he's withdrawing his name from consideration as drug czar. Tom is a fine man and a great congressman, he wrote. Yesterday during a Rose Garden press conference, the president declined to express